So, on to the rendering. This will be nothing too different than any other lesson. We're going to make a render helicopters here, make it red to make the node render faster. Then we'll grab this out. I guess this sim so far thing could be moved somewhere else. Or just get rid of it. We're done with that now anyway. So, copy the out, come in here, object merge, bam, there it is. We're also going to want a ground plane. So render ground. Oops. We need to actually make a ground plane. So let's go up here. And by ground plane, of course, I mean ground and then kind of like curves up in the back. I believe they call that a cyclorama. But at any rate, so let's see it. I want to see where my geometry is. So I'll make a grid here, and I'll make it like super big, maybe. Something like that. I'll definitely want to rotate it. Let me actually go back to this. I'll do a transform here. Sorry. Rotate it 45 degrees. There we go. Now I'll just make it big here. So something like that. Maybe just by 10. And then I'll grab these points. Going to select 2. I can turn this off. Just grab this, move it up. Just want to move it up just enough so that it's kind of here. I'll also want to change this to not just be a hard line, so we'll do NURBS, like so. There. So now we got just a nice little, background thing to cast shadows onto and whatnot. That's pretty much it for that. Out, copy the out. Go back to our render ground here. Very good. And then we'll go over to our out area. We'll make a mantra node. And we're going to render the helicopters and the ground separately, but for now, like in 2 different mantra passes. But let's just set up one render mantra pass for now. So render the frame range. It's using our camera. Let's only do half resolution while we, figure out our lights and materials and stuff. We want to actually output it to say job/render/ the name of this node. Let's say version 0, the frame, EXR, kind of the standard rendering output. Changes to physically based, although it more or less looks the same as ray tracing. Allow motion blur. We definitely want that. 3x3 is fine for now, but we'll probably have to raise it later on. And we need to go to our objects. We don't want candidate object star. We want to force anything with that starts with RNDR, which is just going to be our helis and ground, as you can see. And we already know that we're going to want environment light. But I always it's almost tradition at this point, I like to render it without it first so that I can, I like to scrub through the progression of our shading. Let's go all the way to the last frame. Okay. For the record, you could cache here as well. If you didn't want to wait for all of this, like the actual point to form, which takes a while with all this stuff to do, you could cache that here. Of course, then you'd be caching every point on every frame. And right now, we're only just caching the centers of the original rigids. So that's up to you. But it would be faster to scrub now at the end if you were sure that this is what you wanted to keep and that you weren't going to send it to a render farm. Or they even send it to a render farm. It's probably not that much geometry overall. In any case. So yeah, so there's our first. That should be good enough for a first render anyway. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it seems to work fine. So there's our first, not very pretty render, but it does definitely work. So take a little shot of that. Now I want to say, hopefully you're still watching if you got an error. It's possible. I've seen before when mixing packed primitives and not packed primitives together, sometimes Mancher will throw a very weird error code that'll just be like a bunch of numbers. So if you do get that, don't worry, it'll still work. What you'll have to do is unpack over here your packed primitives. It doesn't happen too often. It's just a weird memory access problem that it seems to show up every now and then for people. But the point is that, you know, what we had here was these were regular polygons. These were not, or even here, at this point, you can see there's a mixture. Well, I guess there's a mixture by the time we get down here. You know, we got packed and we got polygons. I don't know if that's actually what causes it. Obviously, you can see that we're not getting that error right now with my render. But just so you know, if you do get that, I find that it is very reliably solved by just unpacking. And now everything is just polygons and prims. And if that is the case, move your point velocity thing to after this so that you're just recalculating the velocity vectors for everything. So just in case you get that error, that's what you'll need to do. But we don't have that error, so lucky me. And you probably won't. So we have this beautiful looking render. Let's start to do some lights then. I'll do an environment light. Keep the defaults in general, except for clip the positive Y. You know, we don't need light shining underground. It's useless. Go to environment map. Obviously, you can use your own. I like to just, you know, for our purposes, just grab one of these. I'm going to use the garage, I think. The garage looks like, well, it looks like this. Looks like a garage. Why would all these helicopters be falling inside of a garage? I don't know. I like garage because it has a very powerful, you know, light above us, and then it's fairly dark. It also just looked nice in the reflection of the glass on the windows. So let's see what that looks like. Although I am going to turn it off in the viewport. I don't actually want to see it. So let's see what that gets us. There we go. So we got from that to that. All right, we're on our way. Let's start doing the materials now in the next chapter.